Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk something that really is a hot topic right now, and that's whether you should buy a house in 2023 or if you should wait for the interest rates to drop. So I'm gonna make this video quick, to the point. I didn't even make notes. I just wanted to be honest with you guys, have a quick chat, story time, and honestly hear your feedback based off what we are constantly hearing in the market. Hi, my name is Alexa. I am an agency owner in El Paso. I'm also an active investor in real estate. What does that mean? I basically buy houses and I flip them. Now, one of the things that I just want to share with you guys is, I'm going to start with one thing. Nobody should be shaming you if you're renting, and that is what you can afford right now. So if there's people, gurus in social media or somebody or whatever it might be telling you, oh my gosh, you should not be renting, like that is so bad for you. Listen, if that is what is the best decision for you and your family right now, then that is what is the best decision for you and your family right now. However, I don't want you to allow fear to conquer your dreams of home ownership. If you really want to buy a house and the only reason you're not doing it is because of those people telling you to hold off on buying a house. Now let's dive deep. Interest rates. That is the trending conversation, right? This is the way I like to see it. And look, if the numbers don't make sense and you hold off on a deal, right? That's just the logical part of us. So for me, this is the way I like to see it. And this is how a lot of people, and you can do your own research, you can go down the rabbit hole, you can see what you want to focus on. But historically speaking, decades, as the market goes up and goes down, everything is always going up when it comes to your rates, going down when it comes to your rates, going up when it comes to your values, slightly going down. But overall, we can see real estate, and I think we can all agree, real estate is a vehicle for an investment long term. Now, unless you're doing wholesaling, unless you're doing like a flip, and even a flip can sometimes go really south. But for the most part, those are the ones that you're gonna get like a quick profit, or if you're like already buying into like a cash flow producing asset. However, for the most part, if you're buying like your first house, I don't want you to go in there saying like, oh my God, I'm gonna make a bunch of money off of this house and it's gonna all be great. You want to see it as, this is a house that I intend to live in and I am going to use it, whether it be for me to hold on to for 5 to 7 years so that later I can sell it and leverage to buy my next house if you're a first time buyer, or 2, I am going to inherit this down to somebody in my family, my kids, whatever the situation might be, and you just see it as a milestone for you owning your first house. I've seen people and I cry with them, I'm super emotional sometimes, buy their first house and that was like a lifelong dream of them. Like I literally was crying this past weekend. One of my really close friends, she just closed on her house. I had actually helped her sell her house a year ago. She went into like the tiny living situation and then she was like, girl, we're done with this. Her and her wife were just not, the small house situation was just too small for them and their 2 babies. So we got into now looking to buy a house. They're military, amazing people. And oh my gosh, that story within itself was a roller coaster because we had some situations go on with like the file itself, with the sellers, and well, we can talk about that if you're interested in another video. But the point I'm making here is that it was one of the most rewarding situations for them because they were finally able to get their babies back into a house and they were just so grateful with the fact they didn't have to come to the table with anything. We were able to negotiate closing costs, we were able to help them with the rates, we were able to help them with incentives, VA, obviously they didn't have to pay for the down payment. They were just ecstatic and they were just grateful for the opportunity of the house that they had found. They didn't have to compete with anybody else. That house was completely remodeled, but thankfully, again, because of the market, we were able to get a great deal on the property. So this is, for me, a passion. This is not just like, oh, I'm gonna get somebody into a house and no. I truly love to see these success stories. And sorry if I'm rambling a bit, but I want to get to this point, which is you should not determine your decision based off what somebody else is sharing with you, whether it's the media, whether it's what you read online from like a guru or like journal, whatever it is. You need to sit down with yourself and determine whether it's the right time for you to buy or not. Because if the answer is you've been paying rent for the past X amount of years and you have not missed a single payment and you're done paying that rent that is basically like picking it up putting it in the trash because obviously your landlord is the one that's cashing in the profit? And those answers are, you know what, I'm done with that. I actually want to buy a house because this is something that I want to utilize for me and my family, and that is what I'm looking to do. Then the interest rate should not be holding you back. And this is why I say this. Interest rates right now being higher than where they were, and historically speaking, they are still lower because we're looking back at the 1900s when there was prime lending going around, which I think we've talked about in another video. But when that was happening, okay, those were high rates, like some really sketchy stuff was going on at that time. And obviously we were experiencing over 19% in interest rates. Right now we're in the 6s, 7s, depending on your credit score. And for me, in my situations with our clients and our files, what I see a lot of the times in this market is that we're able to negotiate more incentives for them versus when the market's rates were slightly lower and we were having to compete with people, or even very lower when COVID happened and we were literally having to come in some deals $20,000 above asking price because the clients wanted that house, they needed a house, they were competing with a bunch of other buyers. And I would tell them, like, look, just keep in mind, you know, we're paying more for a house, it's not worth that. They're like, Alexa, we want this house. It was aggressive. And I think that what a lot of people are failing to understand, and I do a lot of research for this reason. I like to read a lot. I like to keep myself up to date and do the same, because again, you shouldn't just take my word, or you shouldn't take the social media's word for it, but the actual people that are constantly investing in these large corporations, whether it's actually multifamily units, whether it is a hotel, whether it is anything that involves real estate, they always say this is a perfect time to buy because they're negotiating deals. I just had a conversation with a client of ours, and actually the conversation was really interesting, but to make the long story short, he just negotiated $5.8 million deal for some apartment complexes that they were going to sell. This was not in El Paso, this was actually out in Phoenix. He negotiated down to a 1.8. That is a huge deal. Like, obviously he knows that that's going to turn a profit. He knows the market. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The people that are dealing with real estate to those calibers, they know something that we should be paying attention to, which is when the market is in these situations, we should actually invest because we have leverage. The moment that interest rates start to drop, guess what? More people start to qualify. More people are going to start buying into the houses again. Boom, you get more of a competition, because guess what? There is not enough demand sometimes. There is not enough production to meet the demand, depending on what it is that you're looking for and depending on the areas. I am talking specifically for our area in El Paso County. I know all the areas are different. We have partners throughout the United States, and I know everybody's dealing with something slightly different. But in our situation, we are seeing constantly where people are actually able to negotiate more times than not a good deal for their properties. And I think that that is the most important thing that I want you guys to try and focus on when it comes to making that decision or not, is if you know that you can buy a home, you've already been qualified, or maybe you don't know, but you know that you make money and you know that your income is there and you know that you're paying your debt and you know that your credit is good, and you're like, you know what, I'm really tired of renting, but I keep hearing everybody tell me to wait until the rates go down. Just do your research, go down that rabbit hole and find out why it is that they are telling you that you should wait, because I promise you it's going to be one of those two reasons, whether it's because, hey, you should wait, and if you wait, obviously best believe that you're going to compete with more people when that time comes, or whether you move forward because somebody's telling you, well, you should stop renting because you know for a fact that you can afford it because you've been paying it for X amount of years. All I'm going to leave you with is do all of your numbers to ensure that it is the best time for you. The last thing you want is to get yourself into a bind where you're unhappy because you made a rash decision. However, to also add to that, just don't let fear stop you. If you know anything about me, if you don't know enough about me, go on my TikToks, you'll learn more about me. But I'm a very positive person, and I am the type of person that no matter if like the sky is falling, I'm always doing great. And the reason I have that approach to life is because life has humbled me, and life has taught me some crazy experiences that to me, I now try and just share to somebody that could possibly benefit from them. And I remember once upon a time when I was 18 and I bought my first house, I was very scared. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to continue to afford it. All I knew is that I had a baby Airbnb, and I wanted to make sure he was gonna have a home to live in. I've been working since a very, very young age, and for me, I wanted to ensure that I was gonna have something for him. I didn't really have my parents in the picture, so for me, it was very vital to ensure that I was going to just set some solid foundation for him. And I share this with you because that decision that I made has led me now to a property that is, at that time I bought it for about $150, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, a completely new home. Now that house is literally right underneath, what was it last time I checked, 310? And I'm like, wow, that house, I turned it into an Airbnb. That house has been generating a constant flow of income, cash flow that's producing. I don't even touch that money. I'm like just putting it aside to get the next Airbnb. And this is exactly why I love real estate, because it helps people use it as a tool to be able to leverage it later in life for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But when you're paying your landlord's investment, that's never yours. It's just never going to be yours unless you negotiate a deal with him and you decide to buy it. But by that point, how many years have you actually been paying his rent, his mortgage? So whatever you're going to decide, just do not let fear stop you. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. I feel so many people are talking about whether you should buy, whether you should not buy. Look, if the numbers are making sense, do not let the rate stop you. I think that right now, when it comes to these deals, we're able to negotiate fantastic incentives depending on the properties, and you should take advantage of them versus being in a situation where now you're having to come to the table with money. One of my clients, literally, we just negotiated over $21,000 in incentives. So he's not having to come to the table with anything. So that's really nice. And we got a price reduction. Yes. So I hope this video was useful. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. And let me know if you guys have, again, any questions, okay? We'll talk to you guys on the next one.